All right. Hello.
Hi.
I sound awfully optimistic, despite the fact that this month has been rather shit.
It has been. Yeah.
Because
It has.
right now you're looking at me, so I don't know whether I should look at the PC or I should look at you.
Maybe a bit of both.
I think I prefer the PC. All right. This month has been quite shitty.
Ooh.
This month has been quite bad because of the
Mm.
fact that we have not gotten to watch a lot of films, and also the fact that I got COVID.
God damn.
I think that I think that was the worst thing for the
Well,
month.
yeah, at least, hey, at least it's COVID-19, right? Not COVID-20. That's
And I'm
like an
gonna be
inside.
19 forever. That's an inside joke.
Mm-mm. How
Just
old are you
yet.
now?
19 and a few months, I think.
Few
All
months.
right. Yeah. All right. Let's basically this month we only got to see I think about 8 movies, and that was it.
Yeah.
And two of those were actually short films. So if you take them out in the way where they were not feature films, I mean, we really just saw 6 films. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Just 6 movies.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite disgusting because I really love watching films. And the fact that we didn't get to see a lot of films
Mm.
is, it's a sad thing, I guess. Now the problem is, I think you should speak.
You think I should speak?
Because I'm like setting up the posters, as you can see. All right.
Okay.
I
Yes.
hope you
So
can
we're
see
just
them.
setting up the pictures so we can see. Yes. Okay, I can
Yeah.
see.
All right. I think the people, the Republic of MDR can also see the posters now.
Uh-huh.
All right. This month has been rather bad because of the high we had last month, where we literally saw like 17 films. And
Mm-hmm.
like, not all of them were great. I'm sorry, I'm just going to open up the can. And it's not a can of
Kind of
worms.
wolf hair.
Right.
It's an energy drink.
Yeah.
And I've got my
Because
coffee.
I'm straight edge and I'm also very cool. So I like to keep things, cold. And I drink cool energy drinks. I don't know why you drink hot drinks.
Nothing wrong with a hot drink.
All right. Okay, so the first film we saw this month was just over a minute long. And this is by, I hope I'm going to say this right, Makoto Shinkai. This film is called Other Worlds. And it's a short film. It's available on YouTube. I really wanted to see an upscaled version of this. And, taking from the fact that Makoto Shinkai is such a popular director, like a lot of people know may who people who may not know him is they must know him from the film Your Name, because that's a very very popular film, anime film. The thing is, I really was expecting that there would be a upscale version of this in existence, and there wasn't. I mean, even the poster was not upscaled or anything. Like, there's nothing. There's no restoration. And for such an iconic director, I would hope that his first film would go through some kind of restoration. It didn't. Other Worlds was like, it's strange because I've got, story time, a little story time here. Now, I like this film, and how I came across it was very weird because I knew of this film called The Garden of Words, and it's a 43-minute short film. It's an anime film. And I know of this other film called Your Name, which is a really popular anime film. I got to know on a random day in the beginning of this month that both the films are by the same guy. And I thought, well, he's really my style. I like his style. And for that reason, I wanted to go through this entire filmography. And I kind of got onto his IMDb page, scrolled up to the bottom, and saw what was the first film he had ever directed. I was more interested in the films he had directed than the ones that he had written. Most of them are the same. I think it's only two more that he has written, and they might have been collaborations or adaptations as well. So he's really a writer and a director. And the thing about that is when I came across this Other Worlds thing and I played the first frame of this because it was on YouTube, it like literally I typed in Other Worlds and it just came up. What I heard was, Eric Satie's, I don't know how to say it, like it's written as Jimeno Beatty, or I don't know how to say it, number one. But you know very well that that's my favorite solo piano tune,
Yeah.
which is a
My
classic.
voice is
Yeah, but like it's my favorite one. And how I came across Eric Satie in itself is a very strange story. So here's a second strand of the same story. It's a subplot. I remember I was maybe in like 10th grade or something, and in high school, and I was giving a very important exam, but I don't know if it was supposed to be a mock exam or whether it was the real deal. I remember that very day I got up and it was an English paper. So I was doing the paper, in the hall. And the strange thing was in the hall, I saw this basic comprehension question, which is basically they give you like a paragraph or two on a topic. And from that topic, you basically pick out uh, stuff about which they've asked you questions and you have to answer that. So it's basic, English understanding things. In that comprehensive, it was all about Eric Satie. And I did not know of Eric Satie at all. I did not know who this guy was. The name was quite interesting because it was a unique name. And it was a comprehensive sort of an biography or, an introduction of who Eric Satie was. And it just sort of summed up his life and everything. And I was like, this guy sounds very intriguing. And I did the paper, I came out, I went to home, I go on YouTube. The first thing I see is Eric Satie. Now, a lot of people might say that, oh, because your phone's always listening into what you're saying and it shows up with exactly what you say and all that stuff. It could not have been possible that the phone was there because the phone was not there in the room with me. I was, because, of course, I did not carry a phone at all. I was just doing a paper in high school. Um,
Mhm.
how could anything listen in on a thought? That's not possible. So I thought that it was either a very strange coincidence or something of like very peculiar stuff, and stuff like this always happens with me for some reason. And I was very intrigued, and this is one of those things that has really remained in my memory. So that's a subplot of how I got to know about Eric Satie. And this and of all the Eric Satie songs, of all his compositions, that one is my favorite. And because this is his first film and this plays in the very first frame, that the fact that he could have chosen anything, but he chose this, it really suited my style. And
Mm.
although the short film is not very impressive, it's rather strange. I like the art style. It's
Yeah, me
definitely
too.
it's all hand drawn, and it sort of, like goes around, like things are basically still and they're kind of like moving on top of the frame. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, like it's like sort of like a composite frame. It's interesting. What are your thoughts on this? Because that was my little I don't know,
Well,
tidbit.
first of all, like you are right, this does happen to you all the time where you will tell me about something and somehow all of your passions are linked, to each other. Which I think is a very cool thing because that means you're always learning. But for me, I mean, I love the art style personally. It kind of has like a comic book mixed with anime style, I would say. Because you
Because
have like
anime
the
is
almost
like moving manga anyway.
yeah.
uh,
So
yeah.
I loved the art style. I loved the mood of it. Like it had, I think with both of his films, and obviously we'll talk about the other one in a minute, but they both have such a vibe to them. And they're also both very much about like basic human emotions and like everyday normal things instead of it being about something extreme or like something that isn't like a mundane. It's almost like makes the mundane beautiful, I think, from what I've seen from him so far. And they just have such a good vibe about them. And he also plays very much with like background noises in his films, which I really like, because it kind of plays on your mind slightly as you're watching it. And there's always like an undertone as well. So you take it for what it is, and it looks rather basic. And it is about very basic, normal, everyday things. But the way he's done it is almost as if there's so much more going on in the surface. It's almost kind of like, when people on social media share like a certain aspect of their lives, but you don't know what's actually happening in their reality of their lives. And it's almost like this, like you're being let into something, but not fully. So your mind is sort of thinking, what's the context of this? What's the story behind all of this? So I personally really loved it. I think it has an impact. Considering it was so short, you can watch films that are like 3 hours long and not have any sort of impact when you're watching it. Whereas this has such a feel to it that really impressed me, I think. So yeah, overall, I love this.
Yeah. The thing about this film was that it sort of had like stuff written all over it. I didn't know if it was like the
Yeah.
subtitles thing or whether it was a part of the original film, because that was the
It
only
seemed a
source that I
part
could
of it
find. Yeah.
to me.
It sort of felt like that it had that, like the animation was given that space so that it could
Mm,
have that text in it and not just embedded subtitles on top of the footage.
yeah.
The thing about it, and sorry for my coughing, I am still suffering from this problem, sort of coming out of it now. But anyways, Other Worlds is the thing is I don't get anything about the title. I don't know why it's called Other Worlds,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
which is strange because it is very much a very like relatable, like when two
Mm,
people are in a relationship and the kind of questions she is raising, like she's like, are you going to leave me, are you gonna find her, like are you gonna fall in love for real and stuff, like it's all sort of like insecurities that any relationship
yeah,
sees, over the course
definitely.
of its especially in the initial stages of any relationship, where it's not the honeymoon period of the relationship where everything is all like roses and stuff,
Yeah.
but sort of the aftermath of that. And the
Mm,
thing is, we see a lot of films that sort of build up to that point where it's going to be the honeymoon period now, or it takes place during the honeymoon period, or it takes place during the peak of, like everything is going down, like everything is
yeah.
going bad. That's what like the general mainstream cinema focuses on. And because this 1.5 minute short film just focuses on just a girl sort of like expressing her feelings about this, about her boyfriend or her partner.
Yeah.
Will he leave her and stuff? I think it's something that like hits a nerve. Anyways, it's a nice first short film, and nice to see that a male, director has the capability of expressing those vulnerable female
Mm.
emotions that only I think females can sort of see through. And
That's very true, actually. I would agree
yeah,
with that. I haven't thought of it like that. That is very true. It's almost
because
like he has a
even in
real
his
insight.
second one, he has that. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's like it's very much, I don't know, like part of it is very much about humans in general rather than a woman or a man. It's very like basic human needs and questions and insecurities. But at the same time, it has that feminine edge to it. So that is actually really impressive that he
And
managed to get that across.
yeah, and for sure, he seems like a feminist, but of a true nature. He's not just doing
Mm,
it for the sake of it. Like he
yeah.
can really see through those sort of female insecurities and emotions. Um, and like I've not seen all of his films, but because I know briefly about them, just a few of them, he seems to always focus on the female narrative more. And
Mm.
like he sort of like reverses the manic pixie dream girl trope where a girl sort of walks into a guy's life and suspends, the everything that they think they know about life, which is what most rom-coms are like.
Yeah.
You've got this dreadful guy, and then a girl walks into his life, everything is changed. In his cinema, it sort of seems like
Mm.
the girl is on a discovery of her own, and the guy is a part of that discovery instead of her being the discovery that the guy, like, what I mean, right? Like it's sort of like playing reverse on that very trope, but not intentionally. It's just
Yeah.
happens to be what he does, what the guy does.
Yeah.
And now there's the second film, which is about a woman and a cat.
Mm.
So what were your
See,
thoughts on this?
well, first of all, it's very beautiful, and also like it was moving because like recently my cat passed away. So
Yeah.
like it was a very beautiful thing to watch. After that, I love the fact that it was very much from the point of view, the whole film was from the point of view of the cat. I think anyone who's ever had a pet
Really? I thought it
always
was from the point of
tries
view of.
to,
Oh yeah, yeah, it was from
yes,
just the
it
cat.
was from the cat.
Oh yeah, now
Yeah,
I
so the whole
remember.
film was like the cat talking about how much he loved his
Wow,
owner.
they really
And
humanized the cat, didn't they? Because I
yes,
remembered it differently.
yeah. But like I think anyone who's had a pet has often wondered what in the hell are they thinking about? And also I think everyone who's had a pet knows like the unconditional love that they give to us as humans. I mean, we really don't deserve animals. But the thing is, like, they love us literally unconditionally. Like any love of between two humans, no matter how deep that love is, it's never unconditional. Like it isn't. Like as much as you'd like to
No, I'm
think it
just laughing
is,
because that's
it
true. It's
isn't, you
funny
know?
because it's true.
Because it's not like you don't love someone because of certain things. It's not that. Like you still love that person, but obviously like there are certain conditions to be able to feel loved by another human being. And people don't always get that, but with animals, they give you everything because they're so reliant on you to just supply them with the most basic of things, like such as food and water, that and they give you so much more than that than what
Yeah, the
we ever can give
demands
them.
are not that
Yeah,
much, and the reward is very comforting.
yeah.
Um,
And like I love this film, the fact that it was of from the point of view of the cat, because I think anyone who's had an animal like knows actually how emotionally intelligent they are. The fact that you can be crying and your cat or dog or whatever pet you have will come up to you and snuggle with you. They just have that sense of how we are feeling, even when we don't really understand how we're feeling. So I love the fact that it was from the point of view of the cat, that it just expressed how much he adored his owner, and just shows like how much animals rely on their owners for that love. And I also love that in the film, like the cat was a bit confused at times about why his owner was feeling a certain way or was reacting to something in a certain way. Like there's a context where she's on the phone to someone and she breaks down and cries. And as the viewer, we have no idea what that conversation was about, but we understand like that she's in pain, emotional pain, and the cat is aware of this, but he's also so confused, like why is she feeling this way? But I think as well
yeah,
what's
because
lovely about
the
is
thing about
sorry,
that call thing is what made the short film for me.
yeah,
And that's because we all really hear all the good and the bad news on phones. At
mm,
least that's what life is like now. Mostly it
yeah,
is now. It's more the thing about, like, except for the context, the films that he makes are very contemporary and they seem quite timeless because they're dealing with uh
very timely.
yeah, with emotions that are gonna be they're never gonna change. Those are the basic human values and morality. And like when she hangs up that phone, it's like It could have been a call with her partner, a fight with dad, or something at work, or maybe just a tragic family news or anything. But the fact that when she hangs up that phone, we've all been there. Every one
Yeah.
of us has been in that situation. We pick up the phone, we hear something we never wished we would have wanted to hear. And we just, when the call hangs up, you just feel this sort of feeling that sinks into your heart, like your just heart is
Mm.
just completely crushed. And you just like feel really lonely in that moment, even if you are in a like crowded place or a public place, like maybe in the metro or at work. You cannot, like express yourself freely. And it's a very like it's that moment was really where I liked the short film. I also liked how like paper craft the whole short film came across as. Like
Hmm.
it all looked like it was just paper craft and stuff, like
Yeah.
it felt like, again, like with the first film he made, it was quite similar to that. The whole animation style. I don't know what was the gap in the production. I think maybe it was, I don't know, it might have been 3 months or 3 years now. I can't remember. But yeah, I like this film. I
I
like the
also,
short film. Yeah.
yeah, I also like the color tones in this as well, because it was kind of like, when you're going through like a hard time, or you're depressed or low, like everything seems so dull, and I think that showed that very well. And like the color tones, they were all like very muted, and it's almost as if she's kind of in
It
such
was
a
all
place of
black and white,
despair.
and it's interesting where the poster is colored and
Yeah.
seems more anime like, whilst the short film itself, like the poster is sort of inviting.
Hmm.
It's a bit inviting, and we never get to see the face of the girl. We just see the cat looking at the girl and being happy. Um,
Mm.
it's definitely showing that the emotion is not receptive. Like the girl is not smiling, but the cat is
Yeah.
smiling.
Mm.
Um, you can
Which
just
kind of
feel
sums up
that.
human animals, actually.
Yeah,
Like,
and
yeah.
yeah, I mean
Um.
I think this later went on to become an anime series, if I can remember correctly from the IMDb page. We have not seen it yet because he did it way down the line. But this actually expands into a series, actually, interestingly.
Mm. Nice. What I also liked as well is the fact that it shows the fact that animals see our beauty. Like, I think sometimes if you're not feeling great and then you're crying, you kind of think, oh, I'm probably looking so ugly right now, or I'm just crying so hard. But animals don't care about that stuff. Like, they don't care about how you look. They don't care about um like materialistic things. Like, they
It's because
see you for
animals
your,
never have to try very hard to look very beautiful
yeah,
because they just
that's
naturally
so
look very
true.
beautiful. I
Yeah.
think their
But like,
confidence
they
is on
see,
another level.
and they see the beauty in us humans, even though we don't necessarily see it in ourselves or in others. Whereas animals, they see that, they see your soul, they see your heart. If you treat them with even the tiniest bit of respect, they will give you so much more in return. And I think this,
Yeah.
that he did really well to show that in this
I
film.
think
I loved it.
looking at the film, because there's a lot of context here because of
Mhm.
the recent passing of, our beloved cat. But
Yeah.
I think even out of the context, if I saw this film, I would still like it. Perhaps not as much as I like it now because of how understandably relatable it is. It almost feels like he's literally just fictionalized someone he saw go through this or something. The thing I
Mhm.
like about this director, Makoto, is he keeps things that should be detailed vague and things that should be vague very detailed. And
That's
that's
so
sort of
true.
a style of cinema from just these two short films that I saw.
Mm.
Like, he never really gets to the point. He's always sort of going around it, like he's always beating around the bush. But
Mhm.
he's doing it in such an interesting way that you're just compelled to watch it through till the end.
Mm.
And in this short film, I kept thinking, I hope something's not going to happen to the cat. I hope something's not going to happen to the cat.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
actually the girl that it happens with. And he knew
Mm.
that very well, that everybody would be thinking, oh, because it's about a girl and a cat, I hope something's
Yeah.
not going to go wrong with the cat. Because that's what any other director would do. Any other
That's
idiot
yeah.
would do that. But
Yeah.
he turns it around and makes it like, oh no, you were expecting this, but I'll deliver this. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah, I loved it.
No. I'm not sure whether we should have counted these two, but because I felt like there's so much to talk about in just the little things that he's done, that
Mm.
uh, I felt like it was worthy to include these
They
two short
yeah, they were
films.
worth talking about because, like I said earlier, they both have impact, and some super long
And
films don't
perhaps
have.
more impact than some of the features films we saw this month,
Yeah, definitely.
as you guys will find out in this very episode. Um, like what you were saying about, just one last thing about this guy, that you were saying that it's like he makes very, like, basic human emotion things, but the first, like, feature film, not to say feature film, but the first sort of, like, big budget film he made is called Voices of a Distant Star, which is the next thing by him that we're gonna have to watch if we're talking about
Mhm.
watching things in order. And that is supposed to be a science fiction, like sort of a mecha thing, like just how Neon Genesis Evangelion is.
Yes,
And
wow.
in that, there's gonna be some romance, perhaps. I don't know. Like that's what
Mm.
I gathered from the poster, at least. So it'll be interesting how he plays with that, because
Yeah.
I don't know, like, whether it came out after Neon Genesis or before, but introducing those sort of human emotions into an all-out action mecha anime is what Neon Genesis did first. So maybe, I don't know, like, whether timing aligns, whether it was original or inspired. But these two were definitely original. And later down the line, he also made some original stuff. Actually, he's got a movie that's playing right now called Suzume, and it's a big hit everywhere. There's like so much occupancy in the theater. Honestly, it's hard to get a ticket. Um,
Are you gonna try, like, to
I'm not
go?
I'm not sure, because you know how things have come up, and I can't
Yeah.
even watch films at home right now. So I
Mm.
can't even think of going outside. I have never seen an anime film in a theater, and I want it to be a really good one. And the thing is, Your Name, his film Your Name, keeps getting re-released all the time. So I'm hoping that I
Mm.
can catch it during this year. I'd like to manifest that if that is possible.
Yes.
Please. All right. So let's move on. Wow, Dead End.
Ooh.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Not such a downer, because I think this began very seriously. Things are about to get more ridiculous, guys, because it's only gonna go down from here, I think, and not in the way that anybody would like it. I think there's a few ups, but mostly it's a downer here. This film, though, is great. I love this film. I
Mm.
loved it. I love this film. It's, to me, it's one of the best horror comedies,
Yes.
because you rarely see a good horror comedy film. You see horror films that are unintentionally comedic, and you see comedy films that are unintentionally horrific, but you don't see a horror comedy as enjoyable as Dead End. This
Yeah.
film, especially that line where she's like, "Well, honey, where are we?" And he's like, "Where are we? We're on the fucking road." And it's is this such a nice line? Because
That
it's
line
such.
literally made me laugh for a good 15 minutes.
And I thought why that line works so much, because it's like they're in such an absurd situation that the most obvious thing that he can see in front of him is the one that he points out. He doesn't say
Yeah.
we're in the forests. We didn't say
Mm.
we're lost. He says we're on the fucking road. Because of course they are. That is where they are. And the film is called Dead End, so you have that thing about the road coming into your head subconsciously. It's a very bizarre film. It's literally about one black car on the road, and one by one, all the family members are getting taken down. Um, Without it giving any spoilers, I don't know if it even matters if we do give any spoilers. This film
No,
has a
no.
fascinating context as just a piece of cinema, which we found
Mm.
out afterwards, once we had watched the film, that this film almost made $100 million. I think it was 97, the figure exactly, on DVD sales. This was not
So
a
it's
film that
almost
was
like a
released
cult
in
classic.
theater. Yeah,
Mm.
and it's like an underrated cult classic where, yes, $97 million were raked in, And this is, I think, from a French production, from a French company who hired like American crew, I think, and made this film.
Mm.
Because Americans were, the actors were certainly
I think
American, the
maybe
contest was American.
I think maybe that might have had maybe something a little bit to do with the sort of humor, because I did find like some of the humor quite European in style. Like I do think we
Yeah,
like all over the world have similar
it's a
styles of
British
humor.
dry
But
humor film with
yes, it,
the over the topness of an Indian comedy film,
mm-hmm,
and it's just done in an American context. It's literally very, very strange, very unique.
mm.
Because it's got that, like the craziness of an Indian comedy film where it's just like anything is
Yeah,
happening.
like ludicrous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a very nice film. The whole thing is that this film never came out in the theaters. It was made by two directors. One of them I saw probably only made this film and a bunch of other short films, I don't know. And the other director made a bunch of other films, but I don't know how successful they were. I've never heard of them. But it's like if I did a film that made $97 million in just DVD sales, by the way, I would
Mm.
be pretty happy. I would be like, wow, I'm a big time director now. And I think I would certainly get a lot of offers. And I'm sure that they did as well. I just don't know why they never made anything like this again.
It's
Why not
very
a Dead
unusual.
End 2?
I think personally, my theory is that maybe it comes from some sort of dream, because the whole film is very nightmarish. It's very much like those
It
really
is like that, yeah.
trippy,
It's
like
like
creepy
it's like
nightmares that you can
experiencing
have.
like a private dream that they had.
Yes, yeah. And like, because it's like the ridiculousness of it at times is very much like I have the weirdest dreams and nightmares. So for me, it was like literally just as if I'd like had a nightmare and then had it put on screen in front of me. But I actually really like that. So I think maybe it could have been that maybe they just had this weird nightmare or this random thought, and then they embellished it and made it into this film, because I don't understand otherwise why they wouldn't make another film. Obviously their whole lives are sorted, after earning that amount of money.
But it's
But
not like the
to
directors
for
made
them
that
to be
money. Yeah,
so,
I'm sure the
yeah,
product
and
producers ate it up.
yeah, and to be fair, like to have such a great film, it's just a shame that they haven't done anything else. Because I loved it. I mean, so the basic premise, without ruining it, is um there's a family, there's a mum, dad, daughter, son, and the daughter's boyfriend in a car. They're on a way to some family members from the mum's side of the family, which the dad isn't too happy about,
And
which
it's
is quite
Christmas.
normal. Yeah, and it's Christmas time, and they go on this road. They decide to take like a shortcut. They end up on this road that is basically never ending, and there's this mysterious black car. It almost looks, it's very much like a funeral car, something you'd see like that carries a coffin. And each of these people, one by one, die in rather unusual circumstances. um and there is like
And
a
very
kind of a
brutal
reveal at the end.
circumstances as well.
Yes, like like there's a certain scene in which, because they deal with a lot of issues in this, they deal with the issues of like drugs, alcohol, like
I remember
mental
that
health
scene where that
problems.
guy is in the forest and there's this
Yes.
woman who comes up to him and then
Mm-hmm.
she literally bites his face off and he's like, I love you. And it's like, God.
We found
That
that
scene just made me laugh. Yeah, and I found it quite relatable as well for some reason.
she was almost
Uh,
kind of like a witch, like this woman, very mysterious,
oh, yeah.
very much like a siren, like you hear about these like mysteries of these women that call people in and kill them, you know so
Ooh.
but I like the fact that it was extremely violent, it was extremely graphic. It was very cheeky, I would say. It kind of pokes fun of westernized culture in a lot of ways when it comes to like drink, drugs, sex, all of that sort of thing. So it kind of like was a an ironic way of
Yeah, it
looking at the
was as if
western
like the French were
culture.
taking a knock at,
Yeah.
American Christmas
Yes,
culture,
almost
where it's like
Simpson. Yeah, in that
nobody's,
sense.
like celebrating the fact that it's the birth of Christ. Everybody's like,
Mm.
let's get a drink, boy. And, they're like, everybody's like just committing, they're just so engrossed in vices. I think it
Yeah.
was certainly had a, because it's not missable that that's not a theme of the movie,
Mm,
because the
mhm.
entire theme of the film is that there's this devil kind of guy, like a grim reaper kind of guy, and he's taken people for their sins one by one.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's definitely not missed the fact that it is a commentary in a very
Yeah.
light way, but it is there.
Mhm.
And the fact that it made $97 million in sales, I know I keep saying that, but it's insane. It might be
Mm.
one of the highest DVD money I think I ever.
I think it
And
must
certainly
be.
for a film that was made under a budget of 1 million. I
Mm.
mean, that is
Wow,
what, like 97% times benefit? I
that's
mean,
insane.
that's yeah, it's like you put in 100 pounds and you get what, like
I can't do maths.
10,000. Yeah, like you get,
Yeah,
so it's like almost insane. Honestly, I like
I
this film a lot.
I loved the whole film for many different reasons. I loved the dialogue first of all because it was very realistic dialogue. It was very much conversational. There was some like very inappropriate humor at parts. Like it was your stereotypical unhappy Western family. I mean, I think most people can relate to that.
It was that kind
Um,
of a family where it's like sort of just together, like
yeah, it's
hanging on
almost like
by
they're
threads.
forced. The force, you know, they're
Yeah.
they're
It's
forced to
like
get
all
their
it
relation.
takes is like just one bad day for the entire
Yeah,
family to just sort of fall apart and like be at each
and
other's throats.
also like what I like about this film is, I think it's relatable in the sense that you can be holding so many um like issues in your own mind. You can maybe not say something in a relationship because you don't want to hurt the other person, so you keep it in, or you don't tell the truth to your kids about certain things because you feel like it's not appropriate to tell them about these things, but then you hold it in and hold it in and hold it in. And this shows that it's something of like a, when it comes to like an inconvenience or something so little, that then sparks off all of these like hidden feelings and thoughts that they've all kept in for years and years and never really had a real conversation. Maybe they've just, bickered and had like chit chat kind of talks instead of actually talking about what they're going through, what they feel. And this is like they just all explode and either explode or implode in themselves,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
and but I like the fact that it shows reality. I think it was a very real film, and the humor was so funny. It was inappropriate. It was kind of wacky at times and silly at times as well, like very silly. Like at times you kind of thought maybe a child had made the film, but that made me love it even more. I love this film.
I think it's like probably the best Christmas horror film, or a horror film that's based around Christmas, because you
Yeah.
don't see one thing to do with Christmas, yet
Mm-hmm.
you sort of get the point of the film,
Yeah.
of the Grim Reaper coming for you, because man, you ain't really celebrating Christmas. You're just wanting a vacation,
Yeah.
a little bonus at the end of the year,
Mhm.
because why not? I think it's sort of like, it takes a dig, but not in a very it doesn't take itself too seriously. I mean, it doesn't take itself seriously at all. It's not trying to be intellectual,
Mhm.
none of that. And I think in a very weird way, because Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick is said to be a Christmas film. It's a Christmas
Yeah.
horror film almost, in a way, because it's very strange and all that. I know you've never seen it. You don't
Hmm.
want to, but the whole film, like that film, is very much a Christmas film. And the problem with that film is that it takes itself too seriously. And Stanley Kubrick always, I mean, it deserves to take himself seriously,
Mm.
but at the same time, it feels like a very misguided take on something. Almost in a way, it feels like it's promoting what it's criticizing. You can't say the same here. Dead End it's just a fun film. You can watch this again and again, and I would very much like to watch this again during Christmas.
Maybe, yeah, around Christmas time each year.
Yeah. All right.
I like it. I can see why it's a cult classic. Oh God,
What about
here we
this
go.
one?
Oh
Would you say that
God.
this is a cult classic?
Oh, I mean,
This is honestly one of the worst films I've ever seen. And I'm
oh,
not exaggerating anything here. I mean, what can we even say about this film? There's so much wrong.
I mean, I can say a lot, but you go
Look, the
first.
first thing I'd like to say is for some reason, and it's sort of like that Mandela effect thing, you know, the Bernsteins and the, you know, when Mandela passed away and shit,
Yeah.
that for some reason, everybody thinks that Robert De Niro and Al Pacino have done a lot of films together. I've always had
Mm.
that feeling that they've done tons of movies together and there's endless to watch. I've always had that feeling for some reason. And perhaps people feel like that because they have done films together for sure, but it's almost like they've done one for each decade of their entire
Yeah.
careers. And because you see them in such different phases, such different looks in all these spread out films, these films that are spread out, they're not spread out films, it's films that are spread out over a course of
That's something very
time.
different.
Yeah, you feel like, oh, this is a spread out film. I think that's a nice new term, actually, is a
Mm.
spread out film. Um, so this film,
Don't Google that,
so
maybe.
yeah, so what I'm saying is like for some reason, people think always, as did I don't know if it's just me, that Pacino and De Niro have done a lot of films together. They have
I mean,
not.
I thought.
Right. I was so shocked to find that this is the last film that they did together that I have not seen. Other than
I
this, I've
wonder
seen
why
every
it was
single
the
film they've
last
done
one.
together. No, well, not the most recent one, but in the sense that I have not seen this one, but I've seen every other collaboration that they did together.
Mm.
They've only done 4 films together: The Godfather Part 2, then Heat.
Mhm.
I think Godfather Part 2 was maybe 1974. Heat was in
Yeah.
1995. I mean, I can't imagine why they never collaborated in all that time. It's insane to me that there's not a single film in that time. Then there's Heat, and then there's Righteous Kill in 2008. And 11 years down the line, you've got Irishman.
Mm.
Irishman, personally, to me, over the years, has not been the most impressive film I've seen. Um, of Scorsese and of De Niro in general. But
I
there have been worse
I
De
loved
Niro
it at the
films.
time of watching, but I wouldn't ever go back to it, which I think says a lot,
It
maybe.
just could not grow into a classic. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not like
Yes.
Goodfellas or Casino
Yeah, I
even.
agree. Mhm.
But it was not as bad as this one. So this is their second last collaboration, coming off of like the greatest sequel, Godfather 2. They did Heat, which is maybe the best action thriller film of
Which I
all
haven't
time.
seen yet. I'm desperate to see it with you.
Well,
Maybe
your
soon.
loss. I think we both had a loss when we saw this, just because the
Yeah.
expectations are so much from De Niro and Al Pacino. They are possibly the two greatest actors, you know, American mainland has given birth
Yes,
to.
definitely.
Um,
Mhm.
the problem is, I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's the worst film that they could have starred in together. I don't know why they chose to star in it. And I just
Yeah.
don't get it why Al Pacino was doing films where he plays the hero and then all of a sudden he's the villain by the end during the 2000s. It's like he's done so many of them.
Mm.
Just last month we saw The Recruit. I mean, this film has the same ending. We think that he's the nice
It
guy, and all of a
does.
sudden he's like, well, here goes nothing. And then he
Yes,
shoots
that's
himself.
true. Yeah.
He does the same thing here.
Really ruined the film
Do you remember the
for
scene where they both
everybody.
jump off of the railing? And
Oh my
like, nah,
God.
man, these two don't have the energy for that. They're gonna break their
It was so
spines.
funny. So they were literally like,
Like,
literally like leap over these like gates, and it's like, you know, for a fact that's not them. Like they've like reduced their age
you
by
know, like
30
when they
years.
do it in
It's
Pathan with
ridiculous.
SRK, like that whole train action scene, you know that it's VFX.
Mm.
His face has been almost pasted on to the stunt actors.
Yeah.
You you don't notice it in the theater when
Mhm.
that happens. But this was really, really bad. I mean, this was not good at all.
I
I
mean,
could not appreciate this.
I
The
have to say,
VFX, the little there was of, was very
yeah,
bad.
I have to say that I found the whole film absolutely hilarious. Um, first of all, the script was shocking. Like, the way they were speaking was just, first of all, there's this weird like side context of like this woman who's like sex crazed, which I guess there's nothing wrong with that, I guess. But they've got this weird like thing between her and Robert De Niro where she's like wanting to, him to be really violent and stuff. But like he's a policeman and she's a
And
policewoman, so that's it.
yeah, it's
If
like
you're
a
if
bit.
you're gonna be a kinky person, maybe not choose it policing, maybe,
And
But
and the thing is, like, this was the same thing in the Twisted film as well, the film
yeah,
Twisted,
it was. It was, yeah.
where the woman was very strange. She almost wanted to be with criminals and people who were corrupted.
I mean,
No, I'm saying that seriously. And the same thing almost goes for here. But the problem is not that. The problem is in the direction. The problem is in the screenplay. This is a film that feels like it's 3 hours, even though it's only 1 hour, 48 minutes or something, I think.
yeah.
And this is a film that just keeps on taking. It doesn't keep on giving, it keeps on taking. Takes out your energy. It just, especially that whole thing that they do with the webcam, where Robert De Niro is like, well, I did it for The Rock. He just he looks
so basically
yeah.
Sorry, Chin. So basically, to try and explain to people, there's basically Robert De Niro's character is made by Albert Pacino. I was almost called him someone else
Not
then.
Albert De Niro.
But he forces him into making this video where he's confessing to killing a bunch of people, illegally, obviously. But the problem is when it's actually happening, he's looking at a camera that's pointed way up in the room, and yet in the actual footage, he's looking straight to the camera, not looking up. Plus, before he's actually reading a script, because obviously it's not him that's done all of these things, but he's being forced to confess to something he hasn't done. So he's reading the notes, and yet in the actual end video, he's just staring straight at the screen as if he is literally talking about his own life, his own confession. And the film kind of makes you, because it kind of shows that, I think, if I remember rightly, it shows you that within the film. So you think for sure that it's him that's done it the whole time. And then obviously there's this twist, which, to be honest, you can't kind of work out before it's exposed that, it's
I didn't. I couldn't.
But like, I found it hilarious. The thing is, I'm not knocking like the fact that, of course, like a woman can be very sexual and all of this, and that's fine, but it had no place in the film. Like, it added nothing to the film, so that was completely pointless.
I think it has no place in this podcast as well.
It was like they were desperate to get people to watch the film by putting a bit of like sexiness in it, which wasn't needed at all. And it was just the script was bad. Like, they did like the dodgy effect of like an old tape effect, which just looked so fake. It was unbelievable. It just looked so bad.
The problem with that is, this is the problem with like a lot of Indian films as well, where whenever they have to do the webcam or like a phone camera thing, it's always green screen pasted on footage. Man, just keep it real. It's gonna add to the conviction. Don't make everything so clear and visible to the audience. Let it be real so that the audience gets more into the story and does not realize that, oh, this has been pasted on through effects and stuff. Why not really put a CCTV camera and record Robert De Niro looking down and looking up? And he's Robert De Niro. If he was looking down and he was just pausing between what he was reading, he would be menacing. You would you could not take your eyes off of looking at Robert De Niro looking down and looking up, because he's Robert De Niro. But they're making it look like he's not Robert De Niro and somebody like Ryan Reynolds, where if he looks down for a second, people are gonna be like, all right, changing the channel, and then not to knock off Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I like Ryan Reynolds. It's funny,
and a lot of other people do as well.
But like, the thing is,
not as many as Robert De Niro. So
what I don't get as well is like, they're like,
I mean, I wouldn't put Ryan Reynolds and De Niro in the same
no
sentence. Although I'm
100%
sure
not.
that they're
No.
probably going to do a film together based on De Niro's recent
No.
choices.
Yeah.
Please, sir,
But the
do
thing is,
better
what I don't
films.
understand is I know, because he's such a great actor. He's like my favorite actor probably of all time. I love him because when he
Yeah.
does it right, he holds the
Al
screen like
Pacino
no
has
one
like
else
a
can hold it
certain
better.
genre of films that he does, but De Niro can do anything. I feel
Mm,
like so can Pacino. But
that-
the thing about Al Pacino is when he does a film, it becomes an Al Pacino film. It's the same thing like Shah Rukh Khan. If he does a
yeah.
film, it's a Shah Rukh Khan
Mhm.
film. But Robert De Niro sort of like molds into things, and he's a very watchable actor. I'm so like shocked at how
Mm.
bad this film is. It does not do them justice at all. This is a bad film. This is
And
one
what
of
I
the
just
worst
don't
thrillers.
understand is that they have so much money putting into this film, and yet it looks so cheap and so like
Oh yeah.
it looked like
I think the film's
someone
budget
who
was too
doesn't know
much.
what
I
they're
think I
doing was doing
looked up
it, you know.
online once. Yeah, and I thought
Mm.
like the budget was way out of line because you cannot see it on the
I mean, you
screen.
could
They
do a better
probably
job,
took it
but you
in, and
you know do that.
I think they just took the money in and just sort of shelled out a bad movie. And
Right.
at the stage
They
that
took the money
these two
and
guys
negotiated.
were at the point, I don't think they really cared.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
it was funny though. For me, at least, I found it funny.
So all in all, this was a bad film. All right. I think
Yeah.
we can summarize it there, right?
Yeah.
Righteous Kill, not recommended at all. Avoid if you want to believe in the legacy of Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Didn't even care to look who was the director of that film.
Oh no.
Darkness Falls. This has to
Oh
be the
no.
worst horror film that we've both seen, I think.
Maybe the worst film.
I think at the time when we were trying to watch this film, we had both decided that we were in the mood to see just a moderate thriller film. And all these films we saw in the first week of April, because after that everything came crashing down. We didn't see anything
Mm,
after the first week of April. So we were just thinking, let's watch just, moderately okay thriller horror film. And I wanted to watch it because of two things: Lighthouse and Small Town. I love
mm,
films that take place in a small town and that have a lighthouse in it. I just love the theme of that whole thing. Yet the film makes the worst use of that. And
mm.
I have no idea of what this film was about. I was stripped out. I felt like I was injected with drugs, even though I've never taken any in my life. And I don't know why it's called Darkness Falls, why the town is called Darkness Falls. Because if it's
Well, it
darkness,
was
how can it
because
fall?
I think it was because like the monster thing, whatever the hell it was, could only come
Oh
out in the
Lord.
dark, you know? But what was I can't even remember what
But why is the town
the
called that?
thing
That has
was.
nothing to do with the town.
Is that the name of the town?
Yeah. See,
Oh,
that's how much you remember this
I don't
film, and I don't blame you.
even
Probably because your
remember like
memory is trying
what
to suppress it because it was
the
so bad.
I remember. Wasn't it?
See, I don't
Isn't
even
this the one?
remember what the actors look like and stuff. I have
Isn't
no
this the
memory.
well? They're the most generic looking people ever. First of all,
No
um,
disrespect to them.
no, um, but
The
wasn't
movie was
this?
very generic, and it made them look generic. The acting was bad though. I don't know
Oh,
if
it was
it feel
abysmal.
like all of them were in the early stages of their career and their careers ended with this film because I've never seen any of those actors in any movie I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of movies, man. I never saw them
Mm.
in any film I've ever seen other than this.
It's kind of like a TV movie. It was one of those. It was like it
No,
was the same level as
this was a IV movie,
what does that
intravenous
mean?
film. This was because I felt like I was on something. I felt like I was
But it
on
makes
drips.
you,
That's what I'm saying.
but you want it to be euthanasia because it's that bad.
Yeah.
Like you just want to stop watching it. The thing is, what is annoying is it had quite a decent idea. It was basically talking about
Did
the
it?
tooth fairy, and so
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure. So, because you didn't understand this context
yeah.
because, you know, culturally it wasn't a part of your life growing up. But as like
Yeah,
someone from England,
we had bigger
a lot of
problems to
Europe,
deal with, guys.
yeah, I think like people from Europe, maybe it's a European thing. So it's basically when kids lose a tooth, you exchange their tooth for some money, from the tooth fairy. It's kind of similar to Santa, you know, like if you're good, then you get a gift from Santa.
It's a
If
cheaper
your
version
teeth
of
are
Neverland.
healthy, yeah, if your teeth are healthy, then you get rewarded by the tooth fairy. So it was quite a good idea, I think, because if you really think about things like Santa, things like the tooth fairy, it's kind of creepy. There's random, like usually adult coming into kids' bedrooms randomly, you know, collecting
Lord.
a part of them. You know, it's a bit odd, a bit
Lord.
strange.
That's not Neverland, guys.
But
No,
like,
I love MJ.
but the premise, anyway, the premise of the
God, that was a loud scream. I felt like that was a tooth fairy in your room. What is this laughter? This is
it was trying to be Michael Jackson, but it didn't come off very well. But anyway,
oh, yeah.
but
It was
anyway,
supposed to
the
be Michael
it was a
Jackson, but
kind
it
of
turned
good
out to be
idea.
Milli Vanilli.
Sorry about that awful, like, sorry.
Because what
Right,
is
anyway.
a great small town thriller film that we've seen? I think there's many. I
Uh,
think In the Mouth
I'm
of
not good
Madness is
at
certainly
time.
supposed to be one. It's a crazy kind of a
Yes.
film. The one
And
that I can remember.
the one with John Cusack, The Garden. What was it? The what was it called?
That was a strange film.
What
Midnight in
was
the
it
Garden
called?
of Good and Evil.
Yes, that's it.
I
But
love
it was
that
a good
film.
film.
But this is a disaster.
The script was shocking. The the acting was shocking. The only thing is the idea could have been, if it was done well, it could have been quite a creepy film.
Because the ghost
But they
was looking really creepy. But
well, it had like a porcelain mask, didn't it?
oh yeah. The thing is the
If you
ghost
remember.
was creepy. I wish they just had a face for that instead of a mask. Why is it wearing a
Well,
mask? I don't get it.
because at the end it reveals its face and she's like all horribly burnt, right? If you remember.
I I don't even remember that.
Basically, at the beginning of the film, it goes way back, and there's a bunch of kids that end up dying when they hit a certain age, and a woman
It's like a
was
bad
accused of
version of
it,
Dead Silence, this
arrested for
film.
witch, and she was put on fire and died. So it's like a revenge thing. So she takes people's children when they lose their last tooth. Um, but it just wasn't scary at all or creepy at all. Or even the thing is, it was so bad that I couldn't even see the funny side of it whilst I was watching the film. There was a few occasions where we did laugh, but for the most part, like it was just awful to sit through.
It's
Like I
like
think I
making
may
me
have watched it
anxious just like looking at the
watching
poster of this film because of how much I don't like it. I just want to like get over with the
it. It
feeling
was
of this
awful.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to
Mm.
skip it. I'm really sorry. It's like making me unstable. This is the worst horror film of all time. I don't wish to ever see it, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to call it the worst horror film of all time because every time somebody's going to ask me what is, then I'll remember of this. So I just want to
Mm.
forget about it. Move on
Yeah. Pretend it
forever.
didn't exist.
Look at this now. This now we're
Ooh.
talking. This is what you call a good movie, a good motion picture.
Mhm.
Henry Poole is here. We've had this film on our watch list for the longest time, yet we've
Yeah.
never given it a chance. And you know, it's the same thing with Dead End, where we had a feeling that that film was
Yes.
going to be something different. And we had a feeling that this film was going to be something different, yet we never gave it a try. I love this film. And the little story of how I found this film was because it was a Mark Pellington film. And because in the past 2 months, we've seen a lot of Mark Pellington films. We saw Runaway
Yeah.
Jury, which is now one of our favorite thrillers
Yeah.
for both of
Love
us.
that film.
Um, and then we saw, I think, what was it? The Mothman Prophecies, which
Hmm.
was not that bad, not that good, but it was watchable.
Yeah.
Uh, and then we saw Arlington Road, which is like
Yes.
honestly a very,
The
very good
one of the
film.
only good films that we watched in that month, to be fair.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
after that, I started looking at IMDb, like what stuff Mark Pellington has done, because he's not done a lot of stuff. He's done a lot of music videos for some reason. I think he did some for Bruce Springsteen and some for U2 as well.
Yeah.
And he is, sorry for that noise. He is the kind of guy who, like, I just love this guy. I love him. I love this guy. And sorry, this just the whole notification distracted me. I'm gonna cut this part out. All right. I love this film because Mark Pellington, I found out, was an executive producer on The Man from Earth. And
Your favorite film?
yeah, and the
Hmm.
thing is, when I saw the poster of this film, I thought, I don't like the color style of this film. And I thought that the poster did not even mix in the tones of
Mm.
each character's
It
face.
looks like it's just been sort of stuck on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but for some reason, and like when I would go on Google, it would say that it was a drama indie film. And I thought,
Mm.
I like indie cinema, but this film almost looked like my kind of film. But then just something was just a bit off. Now, when I found out that Mark Pellington was an executive producer on that film, The Man from Earth, I was instantly, into this because I already liked so much of Mark Pellington's movies. I thought that this is something that I definitely want to see. And when we gave it a try, I remember that day we were looking for a thriller to watch after Darkness Falls because we were like so bad. We just wanted to watch something
Yeah.
good. And
Hmm.
we just clicked on this film and we were just like, whatever, let's just do it. We
Hmm.
watched this film and man, this film was something. What are your initial impressions of Henry Poole is here?
Well, there's so much that I love about this film. So first of all, you go from some of the other films that we've talked about today, where the dialogue was just not natural at all and it wasn't realistic. Whereas this whole film was basically a long conversation between people. And it was so well done that you literally felt like it was just, normal, everyday people, everyday lives. And the conversations were so natural. First of all, his character is very likable. Luke Wilson's character in this film, he's very, he's kind of, I guess, in a weird way, he gives the impression that he's given up on life, whereas actually the opposite is true. Like he's very much not giving up, but he feels like he almost has to, because of his circumstances at the time. But his humor, the way he deals with it, is very relatable. I think a lot of people, I mean, including me, if I'm struggling with something quite serious, I'll usually use very dark humor or almost kind of, you become a bit sarcastic and a bit like you kind of give the impression you don't really care about things, just to sort of brush it off. So that was very well done. I like the fact that in this film every single character mattered. Like every character in this film had their own story, their own struggles, and they all had an impact in this film for sure. The little girl especially, she was amazing in this film, so amazing, so real, like real and convincing. And I
Especially
hope,
that scene in the night where like it was a very
yes,
emotional scene.
I hope that she does more in terms of acting, because she is a brilliant little actress for sure. And also there's a woman, like an older woman in the film, who I loved her acting. Actually, to be honest, me thinking about it, I think Luke Wilson's character stood out. Also, the older, I think she was a Latino woman, stood out. Her acting was so simply done, but in such a way that it was very believable. And I really felt a deep connection to her in this film. I felt like she come across so real. The
Yeah,
whole film was so
she came
real.
across as like that sort of like weird neighbor who we always thinks is a weirdo.
Yeah.
Until the day when we accidentally are put in a situation, we talk to them, we realize how nice they are, how extraordinarily
And
nice
why
this
they are the way
stranger
they
can
are.
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
more
I
you
love
get to
this.
know them.
Yeah, exactly. And I love also this film, the fact that it's kind of about a particular religion, but it's not preachy in any way. It's not trying to force religion down your throat. It's kind of very much more about faith. I'm not part of any particular religion personally, but I take a lot of truth in all religions, and I see the beauty in all religions. But for me, the biggest thing for me is that I have faith. I have very, very strong faith. And this is what I think this film is all about. It's all
Yeah.
about human
I mean, the
connection. It's
tagline is
about,
that like changing his attitude
yeah,
will take a miracle. A miracle
yes.
does not have to be one particular religion, but a miracle is
Mhm.
just a miracle. It's something
And it
random that
happens in
happens.
life sometimes. Yeah, literally. Like, I mean, we in our lives have seen miracles happen, and we have no idea even now, like how that possibly happened, but it did.
Yeah.
And it's very profound. The whole film is profound. You relate to every single character. There's a romance in this film that is so beautifully done. It's very much like two people with great hearts who are struggling in life, who connect on such a deep level and are just so respectful of one another. And it's just very beautifully done. And I love the fact that in this film it's kind of basically about each character experiencing their own miracle. What to them, it's kind of like saying to people, what is your miracle? If you could choose anything in life, what would it be? Would it be to not have a particular illness? Would it be to like do something great in life you've always wanted to do, or whatever it is to you? It's very personalized to each character. And like I said, each character has their place in the film. There's no actor that's kind of, you feel like they're not needed. Each word in the film is important and profound and deep, but also very simple. I really, really love this film on so many levels. I love the fact that it takes place in a very ordinary place as well. It's not, you know, like a lot of films where it's grandiose or posh or whatever it may be. It's very real. And I love this film. I can't say how much I love this film.
Okay.
And Luke Wilson as well. I've really, it's kind of, I feel like maybe we might go for a stage of the Luke Wilson phase, maybe.
Yeah.
This.
It's weird like how similar to Andy Garcia he looks in the poster.
Yes,
Uh
that's exactly what I was
it feels
thinking.
like
Yeah.
he's the 2000s version of Andy Garcia, with how Andy Garcia was in the 90s.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
thing about Luke Wilson is that he's always had like offbeat choices. And I mean,
Mhm.
Wes Anderson, Owen Wilson, like these three guys and Luke, they all came up together. Their history is beautiful. They're just
Mm.
three friends. They were doing some experiment. They got lucky and they were talented. And now all three of them are mainstream A-listers. Um,
Yeah.
the thing about Luke Wilson is that I've not seen many of his films. I didn't
Mhm.
know that he was the brother of Owen Wilson unless until the moment I saw the name Wilson, and I was like, oh, he looks a bit like Owen, and then I got to know that
Yeah.
he is his brother indeed.
Mhm.
Um, the thing about me with this film is it represents a certain time in life that the color tones which are blue but not completely
Mhm.
blue. It's a bit of a sea green sort of a
Almost
blue.
muted. Yeah.
Yeah, the houses in this film are almost like sea greenish or
Mhm.
turquoise. They're not exactly the popular poppy, blue like you'd find in a Tim Burton film. And the
Yeah.
yellows as well, like are very, like all the colors are a bit muted. The film is not as
Mhm.
profound as The Man from Earth. It's not as great as The Man from Earth. And Man from Earth as well is at the end of the day, story of Christ. It is that at the end of the day
Mhm.
you can find a lot of nuances in the script, which there are many to look at. And it talks about a lot of religions, but it ends on that high of him being revealed as Christ himself.
Yeah.
Here, though, the themes are not of that grandeur. This film
Mhm.
is more believable in that sense. It's not
Yeah.
exactly a science fiction film like Man
Mhm.
from Earth, but
Yeah,
because
that's
it
true.
was the project that was followed by Pellington after Man from Earth, you can see the impact and influence of the Man from Earth in
Yeah.
this film. It's almost like Mark Pellington was a producer in the Man from Earth, realized that Richard Shankman, the director of The Man from Earth, has made something extraordinary. And after that, thought, I'm going to do my own take of this. And he made a film that everybody would have expected to be exactly like The Man from Earth. But if he did that, what would have been the point? And now that we know of the fact that Hollywood wanted The Man from Earth's entire script to just be the first 20 minutes and make it into like an action thriller where the FBI is onto him and stuff. Knowing that
It's just
now,
wow.
yeah, knowing that now, and if Hollywood was going to do that, they would have done it with Mark only because he has made Runaway Jury, which is a film
Yeah.
which is one of the best thrillers, action thrillers. So he would have very much helmed that. And he even went on a completely different route because this guy has made Arlington Road. This guy has made Runaway Jury. This guy has made
Mhm.
uh, Mothman Prophecies. He's made
Mhm.
some really peculiar thrillers, action thrillers. He could have very well made this film into something like that. Yet he chose
Yeah.
to make a film that's very basic. It's like
Mhm.
almost refreshing in how simple the movie is. It's so simple to follow. You play the movie, you sit, relax, and you just watch it. The movie's over, you feel good, and you go to sleep. It's nice. The characters are all great. The story is very nice. Could it have been shot a bit better? Perhaps. I would have liked the
Although,
homey, full screen, widescreen view
mm,
more than
mm,
I like the cinema scope view, which is why we watched it in the widescreen view. And I felt more close to the characters in that sense. I always feel like
it feels real.
a film about characters should always be shot, in a widescreen view, and that's it. I don't think it should ever be made in CinemaScope. Personally, I feel more close to the characters in that sense. And I felt
Mm.
very much I liked Henry Poole's character because I like I could see a lot of myself in it, where I am
Yeah.
always, like sort of like giving up on things sometimes. But at the same time, I could see that he had a want. He just felt like if
Yeah.
this I could just turn it around, I could feel better than this. So when that happens for him, he does feel better. And every single character at the end of the film has had their own arc and has had
Hmm.
their own sort of salvation, or, I don't know, like they've just had their part. And every character is written very well. And it's just a happy ending. It's a nice film. What I like about the film's creative process that I feel like I have maybe discovered is through the music of the film, which not all of
Mm.
it is very my style, but some of it is like that song
But it suits the
Promises.
film perfectly.
Yeah, it suits
Each
the
song.
film, but
Yeah.
that song especially Promises because that's from an album called I think Born in the UK by Badly Drawn Boy. The first song of that I think is called Intro slash Swimming Pool or something, and there's a whole
Mm.
sequence about the swimming pool. I mean, even in the poster right at the bottom left, you can see the pipe, water pipe, and
And
I think another song is by Joshua Braden. I can't remember completely, and that album it's called We Were Here, and the film's called Henry
Mhm.
Poole is Here. And before in the film, he writes Henry Poole was here. So you can sort of like
Mm.
reverse engineer through the music of the film how the film was made. It's always nice to see that because that's how I would do a film through the music. I think
Yeah.
it's nice. It's a nice film.
And
I loved this film.
I think as well, like I think it is kind of like a alternative version of Man from Earth in the sense that it's kind of
Yeah.
more targeted to the general public. I think there is this thought about Man from Earth that it's somehow um superior or like trying too hard to be smart or
Oh yeah.
is too
Even though I
intellectual.
don't
But
think that is,
actually,
I think it's very
I
simple.
disagree. I agree with that because it's ultimately about a bunch of people in one room discussing life. So it's very simple. It's only, but
And
I
this
feel
film
like
is
some
like
people,
the same film, but instead it being, you know, 2, 3 houses of the neighborhood.
yeah.
It's like
But I
it
feel,
it's like how Man from Earth takes place inside the house. This takes place in
mm,
the backyard. I think was
mm,
saying that when we were watching the film. And for me, that summarized the film. Because it is
yeah,
just that. The whole film is just about a water stain on a wall, believe it or not. but I don't want to talk about anything more than that.
I
I would recommend
well,
this film the most of any that we saw this month. This
yeah.
might not be in my top 10 films, but it is in the top 15, I think. I love
I
this
feel
film.
same, and I feel like anyone who's maybe a bit maybe intimidated by something like The Man from Earth, or is maybe not a fan of something that's very much religious. Even though I think anyone who even isn't religious or is from a different religion should watch The Man from Earth because it's a beautiful film. But I do feel like people have that interpretation of it maybe, and so this is kind of saying the same sort of things but in a way where it's more about faith instead of religion, so it's a bit less intimidating to people maybe, and it's a more basic version, a more everyday version that people can maybe believe in more, but then it has the same sort of impact of like the basic things about human life and what it is to live and to live happily. And it's also about very much because the whole film, like I said, is people getting miracles, but it's also very much saying that it's all about your mindset. Like even if you feel like your life is over, if you have the right mindset, you can still live joyfully no matter what you may be going through. You can still have those moments of joy, that those moments of peace, and to have faith in your own self, in your own life, no matter how it's going at the time, or if you feel like maybe it's even going to end soon, you still can have that joy and connection between people. And I think that's very significant because it's kind of telling people you don't need to lean on religion necessarily in order to live happily and to believe in something bigger than yourself. So I love that also about this film. So that's the
I do
final
think
thing I
that
want to say.
like a lot of the atheism thing comes from a lot of insecurity, not to get, like into religious talks, but I
Yeah.
like what you said about like something bigger than yourself. I do think that a small fraction of that whole of the community of atheism and of religion as well is to do with a lot
Mm.
of human ego. I do feel like that,
Yeah.
to have a sense of
Yeah.
security and to feel like you are the king of your own world. This
Mm.
film sort of counters that and says, it's okay to not be the king of your own world, but to be a part of, just a
There's
neighborhood
something more.
and be
Yeah.
around with people, yeah, and just believe that things will be fine. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
like the film does not have any tragedy in it. It's not a completely happy ending film because that neighbor of theirs, she had lost her lover who lived in the same house as
Yeah.
Henry Poole. Yet
Mm-hmm.
because she is able to
That
give
scene is very
happiness to so many
moving.
people of her community, she feels
Yeah.
content.
Mm-hmm.
The woman who's his neighbor, she also gets content because she has found Henry, and Henry's found her, and he's got his life back. The little kid's
And,
got her voice back. Like
mm-hmm.
everybody's got their own little, happy ending. It's not like their entire life has changed. It's not like they're now living in the, like Beverly Hills mansion. No, they'll still have to deal with those everyday problems.
No
But
problems.
it's
Yeah.
that little win, that life
Mm.
sometimes rewards you with. It tells
Yeah.
you that you should celebrate little things instead
And
of,
her character has so much conviction as well. I found
yeah.
like in this film, like she's a very religious woman, and you can see because I think they do what they do well in this film as well is I think sometimes there is that gap between people who don't believe in religion and people who do, and there's kind of like this slight tension because it's kind of like you fundamentally disagree
I
on
see,
something
yeah,
so
because I
big.
see a lot of reviews on The Man from Earth on even Amazon, and people are giving it 1 star, saying that, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
it's trying to be too smart because it's trying to say that Jesus is this. And then they go on like a paragraph long rant about how there's this plot hole and that this could be wrong based on the Bible.
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
Mm.
man. It's
They
not
lose
about
the
that.
point.
It's about, yeah,
Yeah.
it's about the fact that it tells a story in a way where a general viewer just has a good time. They have a really unique experience. That is the point
Mm.
of that movie. It's not telling you that, oh, Jesus could be walking among us. And the whole
Yeah.
point of religion, isn't it that God is among us? So even if it is trying to say that, What's the issue? I don't get it.
Yeah.
The people
Yeah.
need to stop taking fictional cinema factually and trying to counter it with things that they think are
Mm.
factual.
Because
Because
it's an art
just the
form.
same way Jerome Bixby wrote The Man from Earth is perhaps a lot of
Mm.
people can say the same way the Bible was written. That's not the
Mm.
point. It's to take the lessons, to take the morals, and to like have a faith in what you're seeing and what you believe in. But I think that we're getting too religious here. Anyways, this film was very, very good. I loved this
Brilliant.
film. It
Yeah,
could have
me
been
too.
certainly better. It's not as perfect and tight as Man from Earth.
Mm.
I do think that if I was watching it a second or a third time, maybe I would skip a sequence or two,
Yeah.
or I would have a hard time watching a sequence or two, just because I would feel like, oh, it's a bit stressed out there. Maybe if this one was like 10, 15 minutes shorter and it was more tighter, I feel like it could have been a lot better, like The Man from Earth is. But
Yeah.
still at the same time, I like this film. It's not a bad film at all. The best film we
Yeah.
saw this month, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
would recommend
All
it to
right.
everyone
Well,
actually.
yeah.
Especially if you're having
Yeah.
like a hard time in your life. I think it's a good film to watch for sure.
Yeah. All right. Oh God. So one of the best films we ever saw was followed up by one of the worst films we ever saw.
God.
Taking Lives. I'm not going to waste too much time talking about this film. All I'll
Mm.
say is, Angelina Jolie is one of the most popular actresses in the world, and this film does not exploit her acting, but exploits her. And
Mm.
that's it. I don't think I can say anything else. I don't know whether it's willingly done, whether it's
And
intentionally on her part to be just like that. But this film, I think there's a lot of problematic aspects of this film where it's
there's one major one.
sexualizing, yeah, where it's sexualizing um serious crimes. It's making it
Yeah. Okay.
into, like, I just don't know what audience
Mm.
does this film try to appeal to. What is its
Serial
purpose?
killers.
Ethan Hawke is trying to be sort of like Norman Bates, yet he's
Yes.
like
Mm.
yeah, he's trying to act like
That's
Anthony
very true
Perkins,
actually.
and he's not got like Anthony Perkins is, like Pinky Finger had more
Yeah.
Norman
Screen
Bates,
presence. Yeah.
yeah, then this guy could do that because he's not a bad actor. He just does not suit this kind of a role. It's not his
Yeah.
forte. Bad movie. I never want to watch this film again. The first time I was watching it, I was having a hard time. I don't know. This film is just bizarre. Don't like,
Well,
you can just make a short remark on it because I
okay.
don't really want to talk about
Right.
it.
Okay, let me try and like say I've got a few things to say. So first of all, the best part of this film was like the first 10 minutes. You watched it and you think, oh, this is going to be quite gritty, quite disturbing, quite
Oh yeah, the
interesting.
whole Jeffrey Dahmer sort of a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's one another thing. That he's all
it
of
was
a
a
sudden
rip-off.
Norman Bates, even though his beginning is like Dahmer. It's like they were trying
Yeah.
to, and then he's a bit Ed Gein stuff as well because
Mhm.
of his interest in dead people and stuff. So it's like they're sort of like amalgamating every single famous
Yes.
American serial killer,
Should
and
have
then
been
he's also a
original.
bit of Ted Bundy as well. So
Absolutely.
it's like this, yeah, because like how he exploits her and then moves on to the next town and stuff.
Mhm.
He is like an amalgamation of every single serial killer,
And and the
yet he
problem with
has
that,
none of it.
and the problem with that, by making it an like a mix of all of these serial killers, is the fact that if anyone's interested in true crime, and I have for a long time, they have like an MO. You know, serial killers have their own particular style, their own ways of killing, and it's very much they stick to the same thing, and it just escalates over time. With this, first of all, he starts off by killing men, and it's like a sexual thing as well. So how on earth does that then turn into him wanting to then kill a woman? That
Forget
makes no
that. How
sense.
does he go from looking like Noah Caldwell Gervais to all of a sudden looking like he's like, I don't know, like he's got some sort of a weird like I don't want to
First
say
of all,
something rude.
first of all,
Like his face is completely different in the beginning of the movie, and now he's looking
yes,
completely different. And they say that
like
he
no
has like
amount
facial
of
surgery.
no
Does that
amount
change
of
your height,
surgery.
your body shape? It changes
Yes. Your eyes as well.
your eyes.
Like
Yeah, the
there's
perhaps the eye
there's
color as well.
there is literally no way in hell with any of the surgery that exists in this world that you could make yourself go from what he was originally to what he ended up as.
Yeah.
That's just
Because you know,
no
like how
way.
when you like look at Michael
It's
Jackson as a kid,
ridiculous.
and then you look at Michael Jackson as you know
You
in his
still can see
later
it's
years.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
you
looked
can
at
still
two
tell
random pictures, you'd be like, if you could not tell that it was the same person, you'd be like, at least they're related or something like that.
It's in the
Despite the
eye.
vitiligo, or
Mm.
because you can't change the look in the eye, but it's like sometimes they get like really good child actors that really do look
They,
like their
I
adult
think
versions. Here, it's just completely off.
I
This
think what they should have done, first of all, is they should have
does
kept
not
the
make the movie.
original actor. They should have kept the original actor who was in the first 10 minutes because he's a great actor. And they should have then put some prosthetics to age him slightly and to slightly change his features so that he was unrecognizable at first. But if you then know that that's him, you think, oh, actually, no, that is him. Just that's different, and that's different, and that's different. But in this, he ended up being a completely different person. The police also thought he was someone else at some point, the killer, who also looked nothing like the original guy. It was
And what
just
I don't
ridiculous.
get is that they say he's taken lives. He kills somebody, takes their license, takes everything they
And yeah,
got,
takes over
and
their identity.
becomes them. I don't get it.
Mm.
How could he do that in modern day America and not be caught?
Yeah,
How the hell
exactly.
does he take so many lives and nobody from those people's families get to him? Like,
Yeah,
or at least get to the pattern of his behavior or anything. By the time they get to
yeah.
it, it's like they literally find him in a lift and that's it. Really?
Mm,
With how cunning
yeah,
he is, could he not do it in a more private place? But all of a sudden he's
exactly.
in the lift and they're like panning in the camera in his face, like, oh, we did not see it coming. Like it's such a big revelation. And they've got that whole music going on, like it's the greatest revelation. And you've
Yeah,
made that assumption like in the first 20 minutes of the movie. The
yeah.
moment you see Ethan Hawke, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
this guy's a
You know
serial
it's him.
killer.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
even though
same
he
thing
looks
with
nothing
like the
like the
film
guy.
like
No.
Twisted, where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, Morgan Freeman is not just gonna be playing, like the stepfather, or the father's great friend. The movie is
Wasn't that
done wrong.
wasn't that Samuel L. Jackson?
Oh God. No, no, no. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I completely forgot. See, taking lives. Taking lives.
Taking lives,
Samuel L.
taking them.
Jackson took Morgan Freeman's life in that film. This film is only taking lives of its viewers.
Um,
Taking Lives was the worst film I've ever seen. Let's talk about the last film we saw this month, and my health is already degrading on this very recording session. Um, this is, I mean, I don't even know what to say. This is the craziest film in recent memory I've seen. I think we saw this because I was not looking for a Luke Wilson film to watch, but I was certainly interested in the films he had done. He has done a lot of films in a very short amount of career. And like maybe some of his recent choices have not been that great as an actor, but I was trying to look more into the stuff he had done around Henry Poole is Here. And this was a
mhm.
film that he had done, I think, about 2 years before that. I just liked the film based off of the poster. I saw the poster, it was a vibrant yellow, that 2000s, cross sign on it, like, you can't
Yeah,
go beyond this. And it had like a very pop art look to it, and just this random guy in a random nerdy shirt. It's just like it was a proper 2000s looking film, and it is a proper 2000s film because this is one of the craziest films we've ever seen. It's one of the wildest, funniest films I've seen. This is the
yeah,
kind of film where if it was not funny, it would have been the most bizarre film. But
Mm.
because it is actually funny, it becomes its own kind of, ingredient. What would you say about that?
Well, first of all, like it kind of reminded me of the scary movie films. With
Hey,
like
I
this,
said that. I said that whilst we were
I said
watching.
it first.
Don't steal
Mm,
credit where credit's due.
I said it first.
When did you say it first? You never said it first. That's a complete lie.
Okay, you're unbelievable. Can
All
you feel the
right.
tension? Right.
All right.
Um. Right. We thought that it was very it was very similar to Scary Movie with the humor because it was extremely silly humor, but it was actually
I
quite
just,
clever
I
humor
keep
because it
getting
was
visuals of Terry Crews in this film. God.
yes, oh god, he makes every film funny, like make my
Especially
way
especially that
to
Mad Max scene when they're out on the rally. Oh God.
oh yeah, when he's on that motorcycle and he's like
Oh yeah.
chugging the beers
It's
down
like
and
Mad Max or something, and it's just like the most
yeah.
ridiculous thing. You know, the director of the film, Mike Judge, he's the creator of Beavis and Butthead, we found out afterwards. And it just made so much sense that he is once we found that out. He's made two other films called Office Space and Extract that we want to give a try, but we gave Extract a bit of a try and it just wasn't, I don't know. It just seemed like a bizarre kind of film. Didn't click as much as Idiocracy, so we clicked off of it. But Idiocracy is like, ironically, it's almost like the game Cyberpunk 2077, where that game
Yeah.
is unintentionally like this film. It's as bizarre as this
Yeah.
film. And it's kind of spooky how similar the worlds of this film and
Mhm.
that game look. The color
Mhm.
tones are on point. And even the posters, like the yellow, where the guy standing, I mean, it's the
Yep.
same. It's
Mhm.
it's it's a bit strange, but I mean, this film has a lot of social commentary. And the
Yeah.
director, years down the line, said about it that I was not exaggerating as much as I thought I was, because he meant to say that America is going as wild, or Western society in general, as
Yeah.
this film showcases it. I I think that this is a very nice film, just even, on the surface level, if you don't look at those social
Mm.
commentaries. It's still very, very funny. It's still very, very nice. I love this film.
I
Yeah.
I
Terry
felt
Crews
like
is
it
the
was
best part, I think, for me.
yeah. Well, I felt like it was a film that was basically targeted towards the people that are being mocked in the film, in the sense where it comes across like it's this very dumb comedy. And it is to a certain extent a dumb comedy. But actually, what it's talking about is really serious issues, like when it comes to the environment, when it comes to culture, when it comes to like human morality and the fact that that we're kind of getting dumber. We got to almost like a peak at some point, and then it kind of with technology and all of these other like alcohol and drugs and all of these things, we're just getting more and more dumb. And
I
so
think
it
even in
was
the poster you can
basically,
see that, where we go from
yeah,
like early human to, like getting
yeah.
shorter and fatter.
Mm. I mean, I feel attacked, but the thing is, the thing is, I love this film because it actually has some really important like issues that it's talking about. It has very important messaging in it, and it actually kind of is a public service announcement almost of like, this is what's going to happen if we keep going the way we were going. We need to look after our planet, we need to look after each other. And it's kind of it's kind of blanketed as this very dumb, stupid, pointless comedy, but actually it's not at all. It's actually very intelligent, and the humor in it, there's a mixture of different kinds of humor. There's the kind of humor that's poking fun at like about culture, politics, all of these sorts of things. And it very much mocks America and Western culture as a whole, which, to be honest, I don't mind at all. I quite enjoy that, even though I'm part of that culture. But I love this film. Visually it was amazing. It looked like you could tell that they'd put so much work into it, and a lot of it was actually made by people in terms, instead of it being all CGI. Like, you could see that there were actual props and things that were made. The acting was really brilliant in this film as well, even though like their characters are purposely meant to be dumb in this film, but actually they still have like the screen presence. The characters still sort of have their own place in the film. And I just thought it was brilliant. It was very, very funny. Because we've been looking for a while something similar to Scary Movie, where it's kind of like you just watch it and laugh at like the silliness of life, you know. But I felt like this was the same thing in terms of humor, but with a more important message behind it. And actually, I loved the whole world that they created. I thought they did it so well. And I do think that a lot of what is happening in this film is already happening in our world already. You know, you only have to look at how bad our environment is right now on this planet, and we're spending so much money going to the moon and other planets instead of focusing on our own. And we're destroying it as humans. We're
Now Elon
destroying
Musk feels
the
attacked.
beautiful. Like, as human beings, unfortunately, we're very, very destructive. Not just to each other, but to the planet that we exist on. And it completely blatantly says that in this film. And I actually appreciate that. And I do think that actually maybe it might make people think, weirdly, considering you think you're not going to think during this film. You actually do. So I thought it was a very clever way of relating to everyday normal people, and trying to get this message across in a way that didn't seem like it was kind of preachy in any way. It was more like putting it in our control, in the sense of like, we feel like watching this film, that we're choosing to watch a film because we want to laugh, but actually we're kind of like thinking about really important things. So I actually really appreciated this film, like visually, the scripting, even though a lot of it was, the language was very diluted, because that was a part of what, apparently, you know, with slang and all of this, that we're losing the English language. So, you know, I think I really liked this film, is all I can say. I found it very funny, very entertaining. And yeah, I thought it was actually a very clever film. The way they'd done it, I thought was very good. I enjoyed it a lot, actually.
And like even on the poster, because like you can see Luke Wilson, and the post that he's doing is like, what are you gonna do about it? You know, he's like that. And
Yeah,
he's almost saying that, like, you watch this film, you get all this social commentary, but I know very well that you ain't gonna do nothing about it once you walk out of the theater, or once you know, are done with the credits of the movie on your screen. We're
mm-hmm.
not going to do anything about it. It is inevitably going to be destroyed, just like this. And it's sort of just saying that in as absurd as it can be, and
Yeah,
at the very same time being as true as it could be. That yes, everybody knows that the global warming is happening. So many animals are going because of that. Every year
yeah,
there's so many mass fires. And just with humans, there's so much dilemma, there's so much focus on things that there shouldn't be so much focus
yeah,
on. And I think at the end of it all, it's just like, what are you gonna do about it? Nobody's
yeah. What can we
gonna
do?
do anything about it.
Because it
And
feels
that's
like
sort of
it's
the
too
point of the
big an
movie.
issue. Yeah, I think it feels like it's bigger than us. You know,
It's like a
like,
South
what
Park
can we do?
spin-off into, you
Yes.
know, the future, which
Mm.
might not be far off of a Beavis and Butthead film, you know? So
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a nice film. I think even though we didn't get to see a lot of films this month, I think it was a nice film to end the month on.
yeah.
You know, because
Something
we
a bit
only
crazy.
saw really 6 feature films,
Yeah.
and this was a good film to end it on. Thank God we didn't end it on Taken Lives.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But yeah, this was a good film. But yeah, that's I think that's about it, folks, because those are all
Yeah.
the films we saw this month. very less, 8, 6 of which were
Mm,
feature films, 2 of which were short films,
yeah.
and I think 3 of which were also torturous films like Righteous Kill, Darkness Falls, and Taking Lives. But then the other 3 were instant classics that we saw and we're
Yeah.
going to remember. So it's been a very balanced month. We saw 2 short
Yeah.
films that were nice. We saw
Mm-hmm.
3 really good films, Dead End, Henry Poole is Here, and Idiocracy, and 3 of the worst films, Righteous Kill, Darkness Falls, and Taken Lives. So I think if
Yeah.
I had to give my personal recommendation, I would go for number 1, Henry Poole is Here, number 2, Idiocracy,
Yeah.
number 3, Dead End. Or maybe I
Oh,
would put Dead End on number
Dead
2. I don't
End
know.
second. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think Henry Poole is Here first, second Dead
yeah.
End, third Idiot. I can't even say that
You
word,
know what?
which is
I'm
just
actually going to
ironic.
put Idiocracy on number 2 only, just because of how much I enjoyed the film. Dead End was
I mean,
more
it
of a
was a good film.
trippy film, which kept me on
Mm,
the edge, because it was sort of like going from comedy to horror. All of a sudden, I was creeped out by the character that I was finding funny. In
mm,
this, I was just finding everything funny. And
mm.
Terry Crews is just, he's a show stealer. He does it in
Yeah.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He does it here. He's just fantastic in this film. I love his character. I wish
Even in like
his
a
character would
film
come back.
like White Chicks, which hasn't really aged particularly well, but it's kind of my era, I guess. Even in that, he steals the whole film just in one
He
scene,
is.
literally.
He does
He
that.
just
Yeah.
he's just naturally just funny, and he's very charismatic. I think he's
I
a very
think I
charismatic
think on
person.
on Conan, like he was once doing a Battlefield game with him for like the clueless
Mm,
gamer, and I think like they say the word like dysentery, and he's like, "Hey, never dysentery," and that's where I like fell in love with the guy the first time I saw him. He's
yeah.
one of the few actors who I would watch him for just him instead of what role is he
Mm,
playing, because in a way, all the roles he's playing are the same, but
yeah.
he adds just a bit of different charm each time, and that's what really makes it click. He's a
Yeah.
great comedy
Agree.
actor. Luke Wilson, I'm going to check out more of his films. I like this guy. There's a film
Me
I
too.
think he's directed. I don't know what one, but I'm going to check out that as well with you. And
I
yeah,
think we're definitely gonna go for a Luke Wilson phase, like we
yeah.
did with the Andy
I think
Garcia phase.
next month's what we watched might cross over 2.5
Mm,
hours, just for the sake that I'm gearing myself up for a lot of
hmm.
hard work and a lot of movies, because I
Yeah,
miss the movies.
yeah, me
So
too.
I guess we'll see all of you at the movies, and take care,
Mm.
everybody. Don't catch COVID like me.
Yes.
Uh, and take care of yourselves and your families and animals. And what
Mm.
else?
I don't know, I don't know, maybe watch some of these films. I think some of them are definitely worth a watch for sure. We've obviously recommended 3 of them. The other 3, maybe try and avoid at all costs. But yeah, check out the films, see what you think. And if you guys want to like talk, like like make a comment about if you've seen some of these films, or if you're thinking about seeing these films
I don't think,
after what we talked about, then
because of how weird and obscure these films might be. But
yeah.
at the same time, what are you going to do about it? All right. Take care, folks. Bye.
Bye.